Hello and welcome to this week's women's football chat. Um, my apologies about the delay. What I've realised is that I need a break, and what I realised is that I hit start streaming on OBS to get the feed going to YouTube. What I then didn't do is hit go live on YouTube. And what that meant was I have spent the last 24 minutes sat here doing a show talking to myself and wondering why nobody was getting involved, and nobody could get involved because I wasn't actually live. So yes, clearly I need a break, which I'm going to have next week on Boxing Day because there will be no show next week. But this is the final show of 2024 for the women's football chat. So yes, apologies if you've been waiting a very long time for this show to get started. That is entirely my fault, and I don't know quite A, how that happened, and B, how I didn't notice for 24 minutes. So without any further ado, we will crack straight on because I've now got to do the entire show again. So we will start in the Southern Premier Division, and goals in this one if for AFC Wimbledon to Emily Donovan in the first half, giving them a 1-0 win. Billericay Town winning. Billericay Town losing to Watford by 5 goals to 1. Cheltenham Town beating Milton Keynes Dons by 5 goals to 1 as well. Very comfortable win for them. And Exeter City beating Lewes by a goal to 0. Sophie Gillies with that goal in the first half, just 8 minutes in. That goal for Sophie Gillies. What it's meant for the table is that Ipswich Town are the Christmas leaders, but we knew that was going to be the case anyway. Exeter City are up to second, but they have played a game more than Ipswich. Watford and Wimbledon have both climbed a place as well. Lewes are down a couple of places after that defeat to Exeter. So we're in a situation in the Southern Premier Division. Ipswich have the potential to really stream away with it at the top. Watford have got back into the top 5, Wimbledon back into the top half of the expense of Lewes, but that mid-table is kind of moving about every single week, really. Gwalia missed the opportunity to pull away from the relegation zone. You're looking at the bottom of the Southern Premier Division now, and you're kind of going, well, it looks like it's going to be 2 from those 3 again. With a 6-point gap between Gwalia and Cheltenham, an 8-point gap between Cheltenham and Plymouth Argyle. So Milton Keynes Dons, you think, will fill one of those. So is it going to be Gwalia or is it going to be Plymouth Argyle? That seems to be the fight between these two. Obviously, Plymouth are distracted somewhat by progressing as well as they are doing in the Cup. But they do have that game against Gwalia, which could be very important. It is at the very end of the season. The final game, as it stands at the moment, is between those two sides at Gwalia. So we'll see if they are, if that game is there is anything to play for, if it's all done by that point. Division 1 Midlands, then there was, of course, no games in the Northern Premier Division. I'll tell you what, though, let's just have a look at the Northern Premier Division table. If I can bring that up, there it is. So this is the situation going into the winter break. Forest ahead of Wolves by a point and 4 points ahead of Burnley, but Burnley do have a game in hand, so they could pull right back up level with Wolves. There could just be a point between those sides. We've kind of been robbed a little bit, really, of this mini league between them all in January, with the Forest Wolves games postponed because Forest Burnley in the Cup got postponed. And then Wolves against Burnley has also been called off because of FA Cup action. So the FA Cup's really got in the way of kind of maybe a season-defining January for these sides, but we'll have to see when all those games get put back in and when that title might be decided. Wolves have still got to come to Forest. if Forest can get a good win from that game, because my gut instinct is it's going to be between those two sides, then who knows who's going to get promoted into the Championship. The mid-table, that all kind of looks the same as it has done for quite a few weeks now. Sporting Cows are obviously, with that win over Halifax the weekend before last, climbed themselves out of the Northern Premier Division at the out of the Northern Premier Division relegation zone at the expense of Stourbridge, who have dropped into it. But there's still plenty to fight for in the Northern Premier Division. Probably everybody up to West Brom, really. Derby are probably safe now. West Brom still need to be looking a little bit over their shoulders, you feel, at those sides chasing them. Just a 4-point gap between Stourbridge and West Brom. Right, Midlands results then. Midlands results. Lincoln City against Peterborough United. Very comfortable win for Peterborough United by 10 goals to 1. Niamh Connor, Eva Driscoll King, Kaylee Hines, Hayley James, Tara Kirk, Katie Middleton, Emily Sharp, Marfina Aguirre, and 2 for Renee Bennett. So 9 different scorers for Peterborough United in that win. They're only 3-0 up at half time though, and Sofiat Rufus in the 89th minute, a very much consolation goal for Lincoln City. Very narrow victory for Northampton Town against Worcester City by a 1-0. Jade Bell, 16 minutes from time, with the only goal of that game. And she's now streaking ahead at the top of the Division 1 Midlands Golden Boot race, helped of course by those 7 goals in one game she scored earlier on in the season. Boldmere St Michael's beating Sutton Coldfield Town by 3 goals to 1. Leonie Joyce in the 39th minute, Jade Formerston in the 53rd minute, Amelia Kirk in the 75th minute with the goals for Boldmere St Michael's. Abby Bevan in the 36th minute getting one for Sutton Coldfield Town, which actually put them in the lead before Boldmere St Michael's were able to turn that around and get the 3 points in their derby game. Leaford Athletic beating Barnsley Women by 3 goals to 2. Lucy Davis, 27th and 35th minute. Abby Cowie in the 89th minute. That was a very late winner for Leafield because Barnsley had taken the lead in the 21st minute and then equalised in the 82nd minute. So with just a couple of minutes to go, it was looking like the points were going to be shared between those sides. And then Abby Cowie stepped up with a minute of normal time to go and put Leafield 3-2 in front. The kind of ground out victory that teams that are going to do well in the league will do over the course of the campaign. Lincoln United beating Solihull Moors by 2-0 away from home. Lucy Farrow and Betsy Thomas with the goals for Lincoln United in that game. It means in the Midlands table there's been no movement whatsoever because Northampton, the team at the top, they won. Peterborough in second, won. Leaford Athletic in third, won. So the top 3 all stayed the same. Boldmere St Michael's were already ahead of Barnsley Women's on goal difference. They're now 3 points ahead. And Lincoln United were already ahead of Worcester City, and they are now level on points with Sutton Coldfield Town, but with a much worse goal difference, meaning that they stay in the same spot as well. Again, it's going to be 2 from those 3 at the bottom. Lincoln City are probably going to be one of them. It depends if Solihull Moors can do something with their game in hand and whether they can get enough points, maybe a victory over Worcester City to drag themselves out of the bottom 2. At the top, I mean, Loughborough Lightning have got 3 games in hand and they're only 8 points off Northampton Town. One of those games is against Northampton Town, as I say every week. Be interesting to see what happens when those sides play each other. Most of Loughborough Lightning's games have now been put in. The FAWNL have basically filled what was pretty much a blank February with all the postponed games from the earlier part of the year. And it's one of those where if the games all get played through January and February and we don't have a lot of weather disruptions, then some teams by the 16th of February will have played 18 of their 22 games, which is probably a bit too many, but the league, and it's a fairly safe bank, I think are banking on some of those games being off because of the weather through January and February, and that will then fill into March and April. If not, we're going to have a lot of friendlies on Sundays through March and April while we wait to get those final few games under our belts in the FAWNL. Division 1 North then, Doncaster Rovers 2, Chorley 2. Goals in this one: Doncaster Rovers Bells to Millie Fugler and Jasmine Saxton, Saffron Newhouse and Molly Wood with the goals for Chorley. Barnsley losing by 4 goals to 0 at home to Durham Sestri, who have an Emily Hutchinson hat-trick to thank for that in the first half, with Alicia Clark-Mainwaring getting another one in the second half. But the game of the day, AFC Fylde, bottom of the table AFC Fylde, travelling to top of the table Leeds United and getting a 2-0 victory away from home. Both goals coming in the first half. Katie Folan and Natasha Dale. Lois Moore was sent off for Fylde actually with just over 20 minutes to go, and they hung on to that 2-0 win against the league leaders, or league leaders at the time, should I say. Stockport County 1, Huddersfield Town 1, Autumn Housley in the 72nd minute, Kennedy Owen in the 77th minute with the goals there. And Cheadle Stingers beating York City by a 1-0. Rachel Dunlop with the goal 9 minutes from time. In the North Table then, Leeds United with that defeat have dropped down to 3rd. Chorley are the team who take the top of the table spot going into Christmas. They are a point ahead of Cheadle Stingers, who have a game in hand. Middlesbrough though have got 2 in hand on Chorley. They're only 5 points back, so don't discount them just yet. And as I said there, I've been saying it for the past few weeks, the top of Division 1 North, so close. I feel a little bit like Durham in 6th and Barnsley in 7th are starting to get into a bit of no man's land, because 1 point separates the bottom 5 now. Stockport County got that point, Doncaster Rovers Bells got the point, Fylde got those 3 points, meaning that there is just that 1 point separating the bottom 5. So who knows what's going to happen in Division 1 North. I think that is going to be the most exciting league we have, and I've said it week in and week out in the FAWNL. Right, now we come to the drawing league, because other than Cambridge United beating Norwich City by 2-0, those goals because of Isabella Simmons and Sarah Wiltshire, everybody else drew either 1-1, 2-2 or 0-0. So we can go through these at a somewhat rapid pace. Cheshire United, Ashford Town, that big game towards the bottom of the table. Callie Weaver in the quarter of an hour mark put Ashford ahead, but Gemma Fraser equalised for Chesham 5 minutes into the second half. And that was an opportunity for both those sides to pull slightly away from London Seaward, but London Seaward got the 1-1 draw with Dulwich Hamlet. Martha Goddard had put the home side in front on the half-hour mark, but Mia South in the 68th minute equalised for London Seaward. Queen's Park Rangers against AFC Sudbury, another 1-1 draw. Grace Stanley with the goal for QPR in the first half, but Emily Newcomb after the break equalising for AFC Sudbury. Rail Bedford against London Bees, a 2-2 draw there. Trisha Gould had put the home side in front on just the 3rd minute, but Megan Burrows equalised 8 minutes later. Taylor O'Leary put Bedford back in front with 16 minutes to go, just 2 minutes after coming on. But Ines Affery in the last minute of normal time got an equaliser for London Bees. Chatham Town against Actonians, 0-0. So as you can imagine, not a huge amount of change in the Division 1 South East table, because everybody, apart from Cambridge United and Norwich City, got 1 point. So everybody's just done exactly the same moving up the table. But Dulwich Hamlet's point have put them above Norwich City. Cambridge United are now only behind Norwich on goal difference. Norwich City down in 8th after starting the season so well. They were top of the season for a time, you will remember, and they've just completely kind of fallen off a cliff. Almost sounds harsh, but fallen off a bit of a cliff in their last, in their recent form. I mean, they are now winless in 7 in the league. They started, as I said, so well in the Division 1 South East. Look at the form guide over the course of the season. I mean, they won the first 4. They were top of the table come mid-September, then had 4 draws in a row and have lost the last 3. So what has happened at Norwich as they go plummeting down the table? Can be somewhat thankful, I think, that the bottom 3 there, Chesham, London Seaward and Ashford Town, have been so far adrift of everybody else. In terms of those teams down towards the bottom, Chesham United have now played Seaward and Ashford Town twice each. So they are, they've got as many points as they can from that mini league. Seaward and Ashford Town play each other again in the middle of February. So we'll see what happens when that game comes around. But I think if Seaward or Ashford are going to leapfrog Chesham now at this point, they need to be picking up a couple of draws against maybe the likes of Cambridge and Norwich and Dulwich, like Seaward just did, and then win that game between the two of them. That game could be all important, really, for survival, because you've got to try and find a win from somewhere else, or you've got to get a lot of draws in your final 9 games or so if you don't win that game in order to survive. Division 1 South West then, Bridgewater United 3, Maidenhead United 0. Goals in this one for Bridgewater to Bethany Everson, Matilda Franchi and Ellie Mae Miller. Moneyfields beating Abingdon United by 4 goals to 1. 2 for Shannon Albury, 1 for Rebecca Tonks and 1 for Charlie Wilson Wilton for Moneyfields, with Olivia Smith getting the consolation goal for Abingdon in the final 10 minutes. Worthing beating Southampton Women's by 3 goals to 1. 2 for Georgia Tibble and 1 for Danielle Lane got all of Worthing's scoring done in the first half. Isabel Thorogood in the 55th minute got one back for Southampton. And Keynsham Town beated Portishead Town by 2 goals to 1. Kiara Lundy, 1 in each half for Keynsham, gave them the go-ahead goal over Megan Young, who scored for Portishead on the half-hour mark. There was also a game between Bournemouth Sports and Swindon Town, which finished as a goalless draw. I kind of discounted that because Swindon are also in County Cup action. They played both games yesterday. On Sunday. In the County Cup, they managed to beat Westbury Youth 4-0. But then drew with Bournemouth Sports 0-0. In the table then, Bournemouth Sports, that point against Swindon lifts them out of the bottom 2 to be replaced by Portishead Town. Bridgewater United are up to 7th. Maidenhead United have dropped down to 8th. At the top, it's kind of still quite close, 2 points separating the top 4, but Bournemouth with 4 games in hand over Swindon, 2 over Moneyfields and 3 over Keynsham Town. You feel it is obviously Bournemouth's league to lose. The question really, can they go 22 wins from 22 games, or will they possibly drop off towards the end of the season once the title is pretty much done, and just enjoy their football a little bit going forward? FA Cup results then. Ipswich Town booked their game against Manchester City in the 4th round with a 1-0 win over AFC Bournemouth. Goals in that game coming to Sophie Peskett on the stroke of half time. That was the only goal between Ipswich and Bournemouth. And Oxford United 2, Bristol Rovers 3. 2 for Daisy Ackerman and 1 for Megan Jarvis for Bristol Rovers. Cancelled out the 2 from Phoebe Pauls. So the 4th tier Bristol Rovers of Division 1 South West beat Tier 3 Oxford United and will take on Aston Villa. I've just realised I moved that camera, didn't I, last week? And will take on Aston Villa in the 4th round of the Women's FA Cup, which takes place on the 12th of January. So we are still waiting for one more fixture from Tier 3 to be played, and that is because these cup games, the FAWNL Cup, took place rather than the FA Cup game this weekend. Stoke City beating Burnley. A superb free kick from Millie Ravening in the 52nd minute puts Stoke in front, and that was the only goal of the game. They go through to the semi-final, as do the winners from 2 years ago, Nottingham Forest, with goals from Charlie Wellings and Freya Thomas, cancelling out the one from Lauren Robson for the home side. Semi-final draw, which took place on Tuesday night, sees Plymouth hosting Stoke City and #United taking on Nottingham Forest. So last season's winners hosting the winners from 2 years ago in the semi-final of the FAWNL Cup. In my view, the winner of that #United Forest game is going to be the winner of the Cup. I think that tie is much stronger than the other one. I think if # wins, Stoke might give them a game. I think if Forest get to the final, they will be overwhelming favourites. They will just have to make sure that they play the game rather than the occasion. And then one game in the plate, Loughborough Lightning, valiant effort trying to knock out a PGA side, but they are unable to do so. Manchester United Academy winning by 3 goals to 0 means that we have 2 PGA sides in the last 4 of the FAWNL plate. So we've got in the semi-final draw there, Cheltenham are hosting Southampton, Bournemouth are hosting Manchester United. So the PGA sides are split. So we could have an all FAWNL final, which would be brilliant. We could have 1-1, which would concern me. Or we could have both PGA sides, in which case you would hear no more about it on this channel. Because as I do with the FA Cup, I cover competitions where FAWNL sides are in it. And if we get to the final and there's no FAWNL sides in it, I'm not covering it. Simple as that. But yes, that will do it for all of the results from the past 7 days, and indeed all of the results up to the Christmas break here on the Women's Football Chat, episode 166. Starting to creep towards that 200 marker, which I think is, if memory serves me right, and if we do the summer knockout again next summer, I think episode 200 is kind of towards the end of September time. If you think 34, that's about 9 months-ish, something like that. So towards the end of September, I think is episode number 200. But at the Christmas break, of course, we have a look at the award races in the FAWNL. And the award races, well, they really are hotting up a little bit here throughout the FAWNL. So we'll start in the Northern Premier Division. Golden Glove race is currently being won by Emily Batty with 7 clean sheets, 1 ahead of Rebecca Thomas for Wolves and 1 ahead of Lauren Bracewell, 1 further ahead rather of Stoke City. Amber Hughes of Wolves leads the Golden Boot. Yasmin Mosby of Rugby Borough, Tamara Wilcock and Mel Johnson are all on 9. And then for Player of the Season, it's Phoebe Warner and Harriet Grimshaw of West Bromwich Albion and Stourbridge respectively who lead that in the Northern Premier Division. Ipswich Town sweep across the board in the Southern Premier Division. Natalia Negri on 8 clean sheets. Sophie Peskett on 12 goals for the Golden Boot, although she's tied with Sophie Gillies. And Sophie Peskett also leads Player of the Season with 6 nominations so far. But Exeter City hot on Ipswich's tail, and Hashtag United as well, much like in the league. The full list of top 5 and ties is on at W Football Chat. Division 1 Midlands Award races of Northampton Town, Katie McLean with 7 clean sheets, Colette Bell of Leafield Athletic on 5, as is Ash Naismith of Loughborough Lightning. In the Golden Boot, Jade Bell is 5 goals in front. As I said, a lot down to those 7 goals she scored in 1 game earlier in the season. But Jodie Mikauska is in second. Jessica Collier of Loughborough and Kimberly Farrow of Northampton are both on 9. And then for Player of the Season, Olivia Woolston still way out in front on 7, Jade Bell on 6, and Leah Hardy, Kaylee Hines and Jodie Mikauska are all on 5. In Division 1 North, Emma Bradley of Cheadletown Stingers leads the way in the Golden Glove with Ruby Cook, which is 1 game behind her for Middlesbrough. Jasmine Saxton of Doncaster Rovers Bells on 10 goals leads the Golden Boot. Amy Woodruff of Leeds United has 9 and is in second place, with Jessica Gillen, Molly Wood, and then Astle and Newhouse all on 8. Player of the Season, there are 6 players on 4 games with their opposition player of the match nominations. Into Division 1 South East, and 11 of the 12 teams in Division 1 South East are featured within the top 5 and ties of the award races going into the winter break. Eliza Dogger and Simone Eligon of Actonians and Chatham Town lead the way in the Golden Glove. Abby Benstead is out in front for Rail Bedford in the Golden Boot, but she is 3 ahead of Gemma Fraser of Chesham United on 9. Isabella Simmons of Cambridge United is also on 9. And then Player of the Season, Nina Miolo of AFC Sudbury, and then Isabella Simmons again for Cambridge United are both on 5. Dior Nord, Gemma Biggerdike, and then there's Baker and Charles for Seawood and Chatham respectively on 4. And finally, in Division 1 Southwest, the Bournemouth sides lead the way. Erin Foley for AFC Bournemouth on 6 in the Golden Glove, Jenna Markham on 14 for AFC Bournemouth in the Golden Boot, and Samantha Cripps for Bournemouth Sports on 4 for the Player of the Season. Swindon Town with Hannah Cox in goal, and then Annabelle Colston holds second in all of the categories. And then, well, Player of the Season, there are 11, so there are 12 players in total with 3 nominations for Player of the Season. So that will heat up towards the back end of the year as well. So that then will about do it for this week's episode of the Women's Football Chat. My apologies again that we started late, but that's my fault for being a bit of a donut and yapping to myself for 20 minutes because I didn't realise I hadn't pressed start. I think a break is well needed. I will be back on the 2nd of January as we look ahead to a pretty much full programme of fixtures on the 5th of January, and then we're going to start to get ever closer towards the end of the season. What stories are we going to see over the course of the next few months or so? Just finally, before I go, building upon those races that I posted on at W Football Chat on X yesterday. I posted those, didn't I? Yes. Tomorrow is going to be the big post all about every single team's stats over the course of the season so far. Those who followed last season will remember these. Every single side, all 72 in the FAWNL, ranked in points per game, home point percentage, away points percentage, goals for per game, goals against per game, goals for and against at home and away, and the goal difference home and away, and total scored and all that, ranked within their own division, within their tier, and within the FAWNL as a whole. A lot of work goes into it every single year. The amount of, I think I worked it out last year, it's something like 10,000 data points, I think it is, something like that, over the course of the season, what with 72 sides and a total of 12 plus 9 is what, 21, plus another 9, 30, so 30 times 72, what's that, 2,200 something data points over the course of the season so far to put in. So all that's coming out tomorrow. We'll see how your team stacks up, not just in its own division, but also across the whole FAWNL as well. But yes, that will do it for this week's show. I do hope you have a very good Christmas if you're celebrating, and if you don't celebrate at this time of year, just have a very nice time off and eat plenty of food, and we'll all come back stuffed, ready for a new year and the second half of the season in the FAWNL. So that'll do it. As I said, I'll be back on the 2nd of January at 8 o'clock, and I'll remember to hit start this time. And finally, is just a thank you to everybody for your support over the course of 2024. Show is continuing to grow, and the word is starting to get out there even more now. So thank you for all of your support. Always open to more suggestions and what you want to hear as well from your FAWNL show here on YouTube. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this evening. Have a very happy Christmas and goodbye.